श्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनाम वित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् हिरण्यवर्णां हरिणीं
सुवर्णरजतश्रजां चन्द्रां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो मावह तां मावह जातवेदो लक्ष्मीमनपगामिनीं यस्यां हिरण्यं विन्देयङ्गामश्वं पुरुषाणहम् अश्वपूर्वारतमद्यां हस्तिनाद प्रबोधिनीं श्रियं देवीर्मुपह्वये श्रीर्मा देवीर्जुषतां कांसोस्मितां हिरण्य प्राकारामाद्रां ज्वलन्तीं तृप्तां तर्पयन्तीं पद्मे स्थितां पद्मवर्णां तामिहोपह्वये श्रियं चन्द्रां प्रभासां यशसा ज्वलन्ते श्रियल्लोके देवजुष्टामुदारां तां पद्मिनीमीं शरणमहं प्रपद्ये अलक्ष्मीर्मे नश्यतां त्वां ऋणे आदित्यवर्णे तपसोऽधिजातो वनस्पतिस्तव वृक्षोऽथ बिल्वः तस्य फलानि तपसानुदन्तु मायान्तरायाश्च बाह्या अलक्ष्मीः उपैतु मां देवसखः कीर्तिश्च मणिना सह प्रादुर्भूतोऽस्मि राष्ट्रेऽस्मिन् कीर्तिमृद्धिं ददातु मे क्षुत्पिपासामलान् ज्येष्ठामलक्ष्मीं नाशयाम्यहम् अभूतिमसमृद्धिं च सर्वान् निर्नुत मे गृहात् गन्धद्वारान् दुराधर्षा नित्यपुष्टाङ्करीषिणीम् ईश्वरीगुं सर्वभूतानां तामिहोपह्वये श्रियं मनसः काममाकोतिं वाचः सत्यमशीमहि पशूनां रूपमन्नस्य मयि श्रीश्रयता यशः कर्दमेण प्रजा भूता मयि सम्भव कर्दमां श्रियं वासय मे कुले मातरं पद्ममालिनीम् आपसृजन्तु स्निग्धानि चिक्ले तव समे गृहे च देवी मातरं श्रियं वासय मे कुले आर्द्रां पुष्करिणीं पुष्टिं पिङ्गलां पद्ममालिनीं चन्द्रां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो मावह आर्द्रायः करिणीं यष्टिं सुवर्णां हेममालिनीं सूर्यां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो मावह तां मावह जातवेदो लक्ष्मीमनपगामिनीं यस्यां हिरण्यं प्रभूतं गावो दास्योऽश्वा विन्देयं पुरुषाणहम् यशुचिप्रयतो भूत्वा जुहुयादाज्यमन्वहम् श्रियः पञ्चदश चञ्च श्रीकामः सततं जपेत् पद्मानने पद्म ऊरु पद्माक्षी पद्मसम्भवे त्वं मां मां भजस्व पद्माक्षी येन सौख्यं लभाम्यहम् अश्वदायी गोदायी धनदायी महाधने धनं मे जुषतां देवी सर्वकामाश्च देहि मे पुत्रपौत्रधनं धान्यं हस्त्यश्वादिगवेरथं प्रजानां भवसि माता मायुष्मन्तं करोतु मां धनमग्निर्धनं वायुर्धनं सूर्यो धनं वसुः धनमिन्द्रो बृहस्पतिर्वरुणं धनमश्नुते वैनतेय सोमं पिबतु वृत्रः सोमं धनस्य सोमिनो मह्यं ददातु सोमिनः न क्रोधो न च मात्सर्यन्न लोभो नाशुभा मतिः भवन्ति कृतपुण्यानां भक्तानां श्रीसूक्तं जपेत् सदा वर्षन्तु ते विभावरे दिवो अभ्रस्य विद्युतः रोहन्तु सर्वबीजान्यवब्रह्मद्विषो जहि पद्मप्रिये पद्मिनि पद्महस्ते पद्मालये पद्मडलायताक्षी विश्वप्रिये विष्णुमनोनुकूले त्वत्पादपद्मं मयि सन्निधस्व या सा पद्मासनस्था विपुलकटितटे पद्मपत्रायताक्षी गम्भीरावर्तनाभिस्तनभरणमिता शुभ्रवस्तोत्तरीया लक्ष्मीर्दिव्यै गजेन्द्रै मणिगणखचितैः स्थापिता हेमकुम्भैः नित्यं सा पद्महस्ता मम वसतु गृहे सर्वमाङ्गल्ययुक्ता लक्ष्मीं क्षीरसमुद्रराजतनया श्रीरङ्गधामेश्वरीं दासीभूतसमस्तदेववनिता लोकैकदीपाङ्कुरां श्रीमन्मन्तकटाक्षलब्धविभव ब्रह्मेन्द्रगङ्गाधरां त्वां त्रैलोक्यकुटुम्बिनीं सरसिजां वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियां सिद्धलक्ष्मीर्मोक्षलक्ष्मी जयलक्ष्मी सरस्वती श्रीलक्ष्मीर्वरलक्ष्मीश्च प्रसन्ना मम सर्वदा वराङ्कुशौ पाशमभीतिमुद्रा करे वहन्ति कमलासनस्तां बालार्ककोटिप्रतिभां त्रिनेत्रां भजेऽहमम्बां जगदीश्वरीं त्वां सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके देवी नारायणि नमोऽस्तुते महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे विष्णुपत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मी प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः धाता पुरस्ताद्यमुदा जहारा शक्रः प्रविद्वान् प्रदिशश्च तस्रः तमेवौ विद्वानमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्था अयनाय विद्यते सहस्रशीर्षं देवौ विश्वाक्षं विश्वशम्भुवं विश्वन्नारायणं देवमक्षरं परमं पदं विश्वतः परमा नित्यं विश्वन्नारायणगुं हरिं विश्वमेवेदं पुरुषस्तद्विश्वमुपजीवते पतिं विश्वस्यात्मेश्वरगुं शाश्वतगुं शिवमच्युतं नारायणं महाज्ञेयौ विश्वा परमात्मानं परायणं नारायण परो ज्योतिरात्मा नारायणः परः नारायण परं ब्रह्म तत्त्वं नारायणः परः नारायण परो ध्याता ध्यानं नारायणः परः यच्च किञ्चित् जगत् सर्वं दृश्यते श्रूयतेऽपि वा अन्तर्बहिश्च तत्सर्वं व्याप्य नारायणस्थितः अनन्तमव्ययं कविगुं समुद्रेऽन्तौ विश्वशम्भुवं पद्मकोशप्रतीकाशगुं हृदयं चाभ्यधोमुखम् अथो निष्ट्यावितस्यान्तेराभ्यामुपरि तिष्ठति ज्वालमालाकुलं भाति विश्वस्यायतनं महत् सन्ततगुं शिलाभिस्तुलं मत्याकोशसन्निभं तस्यान्ते सुशिरगुं सूक्ष्मं तस्मिन् सर्वं प्रतिष्ठितं तस्य मध्ये महानग्निर्विश्वार्चिर्विश्वतो मुखः सोऽग्रभुग्विपदन् तिष्ठन्नाहारमजर कविः तिर्यगूर्ध्वमधः शायीरश्मयस्तस्य सन्तता सन्तापयति स्वं देहमापादतलमस्तकः तस्य मध्ये वह्निशिखा अणीयोर्ध्वा व्यवस्थितः नीलतो यदमध्यस्ताद्विद्युल्लेखे बभास्वरा देवारशोकवत्तन्वी पीताभास्वत्यनुपमा तस्या शिखाया मध्ये परमात्मा व्यवस्थितः सब्रह्म स शिवः स हरिस्सेन्द्र सोऽक्षरः परमस्वराट् ऋतगुं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतौ विरूपाक्षौ विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
निधनपतये नमः
निधनपतान्दिकाय नमः ऊर्ध्वाय नमः ऊर्ध्वलिङ्गाय नमः हिरण्याय नमः हिरण्यलिङ्गाय नमः सुवर्णाय नमः सुवर्णलिङ्गाय नमः दिव्याय नमः दिव्यलिङ्गाय नमः भवाय नमः भवलिङ्गाय नमः शर्वाय नमः शर्वलिङ्गाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवलिङ्गाय नमः ज्वलाय नमः ज्वललिङ्गाय नमः आत्माय नमः आत्मलिङ्गाय नमः परमाय नमः परमलिङ्गाय नमः एतत् सोमस्य सूर्यस्य सर्वलिङ्गस्थापयति पाणिमन्त्रं पवित्रं सद्यो जातं प्रपद्यामि सद्यो जाताय वै नमो नमः भवे भवेनाति भवे भवस्वमां भवोद्भवाय नमः वामदेवाय नमो ज्येष्ठाय नमः श्रेष्ठाय नमो रुद्राय नमः कालाय नमः कलविकरणाय नमो बलविकरणाय नमो बलाय नमो बलप्रमथनाय नमः सर्वभूतनमनाय नमो मनोन्मनाय नमः अघोरेभ्योऽथ घोरेभ्यो घोरघोरतरेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः सर्वशर्वेभ्यो नमस्ते अस्तु रुद्ररूपेभ्यः तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात् ईशानः सर्वविद्यानामीश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपतिर्ब्रह्मणोऽधिपतिर्ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतय उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः ऋतगुं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतौ विरूपाक्षौ विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः सर्वो वै रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु पुरुषो वै रुद्रः सन्महो नमो नमः विश्वं भूतं भुवनं चित्रं बहुधा जातं जायमानं च यत् सर्वो ह्येष रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु कद्रुद्राय प्रचेतसे मेढुष्टमाय तव्यसे वोचे मशन्दमगुं हृदे सर्वो ह्येष रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकन्निहितं गुहाया विभ्राजते तद्यतयो विशन्ति वेदान्तविज्ञानसुनिश्चितार्था सन्न्यासयोगा यतयः शुद्धसत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे दह्रौ विपापं परमेष्वभूतै यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमध्यसगृष्टं तत्रापि दह्रं गगनौ विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यं यो वेदादौ स्वरः प्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य यः परस्य महेश्वरः स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
भयप्रदायिनि गान विनोदिनी भयप्रदायिनि गान विनोदिनी माता भवानी मां जय मां माता भवानी मां जय मां माता भवानी मां जय मां माता भवानी मां जय जय मां जय मां जय मां जय मां जय मां जय मां कालिकपालिनी मां जय मां कालिकपालिनी मां जय मां कालिकपालिनी मां कालिकपालिनी जगत जननी शिव साई शंकरी जगत जननी शिव साई शंकरी माता महेश्वरी पार्वती मां माता महेश्वरी पार्वती मां भयप्रदायिनि गान विनोदिनी भयप्रदायिनि गान विनोदिनी माता भवानी मां जय मां माता भवानी मां जय मां जय मां जय मां जय मां कालिकपालिनी मां जय मां कालिकपालिनी मां जय मां कालिकपालिनी मां कालिकपालिनी मां जगत जननी शिव साई शंकरी रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रघुकुलतिलकं रामं भजो रघुकुलतिलकं रामं भजो रघुकुलतिलकं रामं भजो रघुकुलतिलकं रामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो दशरथनन्दन रामं भजो दशरथनन्दन रामं भजो दशरथनन्दन रामं भजो दशरथनन्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रघुकुलतिलकं रामं भजो रघुकुलतिलकं रामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो दशरथनन्दन रामं भजो दशरथनन्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो दशमुखमर्दन रामं भजो रामं भजो रघुरामं भजो हरे कृष्ण हरे राम साई राम साई राम 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 गोपाल गोविंद बोलो जय साई राम गोपाल गोविंद बोलो जय साई राम माधव मुकुंद बोलो जय साई राम हे परमेश्वर प्रतिपुरेश्वर दया करो हे 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 साई राम जय राम साई राम जय 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 जय राम बोलो जय जय राम साई राम जय जय राम बोलो जय राम साई राम जय जय राम बोलो जय राम साई राम जय जय राम बोलो जय राम साई राम जय 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 जय राम हरे कृष्ण हरे राम साई राम साई राम हरे कृष्ण हरे राम साई राम साई राम गोपाल गोविंद बोलो जय साई राम गोपाल गोविंद बोलो जय साई राम माधव मुकुंद बोलो जय साई राम माधव मुकुंद बोलो जय साई राम हे परमेश्वर प्रतिपुरेश्वर दया करो हे साई राम हे परमेश्वर प्रतिपुरेश्वर दया करो हे साई राम जय राम साई राम जय जय राम साई राम जय जय राम साई राम जय जय राम बोलो जय राम साई राम जय जय राम बोलो जय राम साई राम जय 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 जय राम हरे कृष्ण हरे राम साई राम कमल नयना नारायणा कमल नयना नारायणा कमल नयना नारायणा कमल नयना नारायणा क्षीराभिषयना नारायणा क्षीराभिषयना नारायणा क्षीराभिषयना नारायणा क्षीराभिषयना नारायणा मेघवर्ण हरि नारायणा मेघवर्ण हरि नारायणा मेघवर्ण हरि नारायणा मेघवर्ण हरि नारायणा वैकुंठवासा नारायणा वैकुंठवासा नारायणा प्रशांतिवासा नारायणा प्रशांतिवासा नारायणा कमल नयना नारायणा कमल नयना नारायणा क्षीराभिषयना नारायणा क्षीराभिषयना नारायणा मेघवर्ण हरि नारायणा मेघवर्ण हरि नारायणा वैकुंठवासा नारायणा वैकुंठवासा नारायणा प्रशांतिवासा नारायणा प्रशांतिवासा नारायणा कमल नयना नारायणा Om Shri Sai Ram. Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering our collective pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet. As a part of our 152nd Samarpan, we have a very long devotee of Swami who has been with Swami for more than 4 decades. He is none other than Dr. Anil Kumar Mulpur. Sir had the first physical darshan of Swami in the year 1986. Sir is the son of renowned Dr. Lavanya Saraswathi and Dr. Hanumantha Rao. He completed his M.B.B.S. degree in the year 1998 from the Osmania Medical College, Hyderabad, and he secured the first rank there. He went on to complete his MS in General Surgery in the year 1992, obtaining the first rank. And then he did his Cardiothoracic Surgery from the Gandhi Medical College in Hyderabad. And there also he secured the first rank. Sir held several distinctions and gold medals in his career. He was awarded the best outgoing student in the year 1981 batch. Sir also has an MBA in hospital management. He is the only doctor perhaps in India and abroad to have FRCP, FRCS in cardiothoracic surgery from Edinburgh. He has got many awards in his illustrious career. He was named the Legend of the Year in cardiothoracic surgery by the Times of India in the year 2018. In the year 2020, he was a recipient of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Lifetime Achievement Award in Cardiothoracic Surgery. He has also been associated with the Heart Value Bank, United Kingdom. He has been associated with Sri Sathya Sai Seva organizations for 4 decades, and in the year 2017, he has been recipient of the Dhanvantari Award bestowed by Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust. He has also been recipient of the Vaidya Ratna Award bestowed to the most outstanding doctor by the Mother Foundation. Sir was here the head of cardiac surgery in the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Whitefield. He was the head of the same cardiac surgery in Narayana, Hrudayalaya, Hyderabad. Then he moved to Sunshine Hospitals, Hyderabad. He was the chief cardiothoracic surgeon in the Apollo Hospitals, Karimnagar. And currently, Sir is holding the post as the Joint Director and Senior Consultant in Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Prasanthi Gram. Sir has been associated with the Prasanthi Gram Hospital and also the Whitefield Hospital in both the places from close to 2 decades. Sir has been a long-standing devotee of Swami. Not only Sir, even Sir's children studied here till the PhD. Sir's son Pradyumna Mulpur joined here in the class 11, and he was blessed to be part of many convocation dramas and many sports meet dramas. He spoke in Swami's presence in Sai Kulanth Hall on many occasions, and he went on to complete his PhD in nanoscience. Sir's younger son Praharsha Mulpur joined in 9th standard in Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School and studied there till class 12. He is now working as a robotic knee surgeon in Kim's Hospital, Gachibowli. And both the sons have studied here, and both of them are gold medalists. Such is the blessing Swami has on in his family. I now request Dr. Anil Mulpur to come onto the stage and share his experiences with us. Sai Ram.
Dear brothers and sisters, Sai Ram. I offer my most reverential and prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of our most beloved Lord of Lords, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Na tvaham kamaye rajyam, na swargam na punarbhavam, kamaye dukkha taptanam praninam arti nasanam. This is there ascribed to the king Rantideva in Drona Parva of Mahabharata. I don't aspire for kingdoms, heavens, or rebirths. I desire that the misery and sufferings of all creations are mutilated and mitigated. I think he, to me, appears as the epitome of sacrifice. In Andhra Pradesh, a place called Guntur, according to a very famous Telugu poet, has offered to the world many intelligent men. I was born in Guntur, and so were my parents and brothers. Guntur is very famous for chilies, avakaya and gongura pickles. And years ago, the warden and principal of this Brindavan campus, Professor K. Anil Kumar, who is my namesake, has unashamedly admitted to Swami that his strength or weakness, whatever you call, is gongura. And whenever there was an occasion where he has an occasion to dine with Swami, Swami will make sure that nu Guntur nunchi vachavu kada inka koncham avakaya vesko. And on one occasion when Swami asked for the first time, "Emi nee peru?" When I said Anil Kumar, then he said, "Oh, ma Brindavan warden peru." So that's how, when he asked me, he immediately connected me to Brindavan, where I have many nostalgic memories. My mother, Dr. Lavanya Saraswathi, finished her MA, MPhil and PhD. I was born to her when she was 18 years old. She got 2 gold medals in Telugu literature, went on to do the first PhD from School of Social Sciences from University of Hyderabad. She, in no doubt, has been my long-standing companion and a great friend. She has been the founder editor of Sri Sathya Sai Balavikas magazine for the last 22 years, and she still works many hours on her beloved project. My father, Sri M. Hanumantha Rao, he passed away last December, and he retired as the Chief Engineer of Electricity Board, and he was known as one of the most upright officers of his times. I am married to Padma Sri. Her story will come a little later. The first mention of Bhagawan in my life was when I was in 6th standard. I was 2 years underaged. Because I was quite naughty at age of 3, my mother sent me to a school. There was no nursery, lower kindergarten and upper kindergarten. Straight away I was admitted to year 1. And therefore, by 13 years I have finished my 10th standard. By 15 years I have finished my PUC or intermediate. And therefore, because medical college entrance meant 17 years, I had to forcibly do 2 years of BSc and wait till I am 17 to get into medical college. So when I was in 6th class, probably I was 9 years old, and that is the first time where some of my classmates mentioned that Swami created a watch. Even at 9 years, I thought I was one of the greatest scientists. I asked what is written on the watch. They said HMT. And I asked them, is there a serial number? They said yes. Then I said, what do you mean by creation? It cannot be created. This is brought from somewhere else. So that was what I recall as the first mention of Swami in my life. Years passed by, and I had to wait till 1986, when I was a final year M.B.B.S student, to have the first glimpse of Bhagawan in his physical form. My maternal uncle, Dr. G.H.R. Sarma, who was a zoology professor in New Science College, he was asked by a colleague of his, a physics teacher, to pay a visit to Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. There was no mention of seeing Swami. And he mentioned to him that as we are all in teaching, you have to see the examinations department, the administrative block, and also see how they set papers and how they evaluate. So he said, I am going, and very casually he asked me, would you like to join? And I also very casually said, of course I will join. And both of us got into a bus on the 25th of August, 1986. Those days, journey from Hyderabad to Puttaparthi meant overnight journey. And the APS RTC driver must have driven that route several times, and he has imbibed Swami's values. He believed firmly in start early, drive slowly, and reach safely. So he did drive very slowly, and by the time, normally it would be 6 a.m., but this guy took us there to Prasanthi Nilayam by about 7:25. Already Bhagawan was out for darshan. So this Sri Nagabhushanam said, leave the luggage with me, because you never had a darshan of Swami, just go in. So I and my uncle went in. Not to say the least, we were the last, obviously. We had Chitravati sand, Swami in veranda, people clicking photographs, orange robe, and I was the last in the East Prasanthi arches. Probably the distance is between me and Goddess Saraswati. This is the probable distance. And I had a feeling and a shudder down my spine that he looked at me and acknowledged me. Just imagine the distance. But that was my genuine feeling. I have never looked at calendar, and I have never planned, nor did my uncle. The next day, 27th of August, happened to be Sri Krishna Janmashtami of that year. And I did not have any understanding of Lord Sri Krishna or his 16,000 consorts, and I had my own version of what Lord Krishna stands for. Of course, I got it corrected many years later. But that meant that students like you, in that batch, they got the cows and calves to Prasanthi Nilayam. It was a wonderful sight. I had Pada Namaskar, and this gentleman who knew the logistics of Prasanthi Nilayam made me sit at an advantageous position where even when Swami is in Bhajan Hall, I can have a glimpse of him. It so happened that somebody from Hyderabad was desperately trying to contact my maternal uncle who accompanied me. And we again got onto another rickety bus, started from Prasanthi Nilayam, and somehow the so-called message never reached us. We had a flat tire, and finally we reached Hyderabad at 9:30 the next day morning, and my maternal uncle was shocked that his father passed away. So here is one man who sacrificed quite a few chances to go abroad, visits Prasanthi Nilayam for the first time, and he comes back to see that his father is no more. For whatever reason, he never came to Prasanthi Nilayam after that. The following year, I was a house surgeon, and I made my solo visit to Puttaparthi. I was a house surgeon, so I am almost a doctor. So I went to the accommodation office, where you are not allowed in. You talk to a personality behind the window. So I said, I want accommodation. I have come to stay here for a few days. He took a small piece of paper, scribbled on that hall 9, and said, go to hall 9. I tried to tell him, sir, I am a doctor. I would like to have some personal space, and I want to meditate. He said, all doctors are same, all devotees are same. Go to hall 9. So there was nothing to discuss. I went to hall 9. Now the name hall, you may think it is some hall. In our language, it is a shed. And in that shed, there were many 4, if you are lucky, sometimes 3 by 6 spaces marked out. And you will be given one of those spaces. In fact, this flooring here is slightly better than that hall number 9. Because it was 4/5 occupied, I was given a slot at the farther end of the hall 9. And from there, I could see a row of Indian commode toilets, and there were so-called bathrooms where there is a spout, but when you turn, of course, you had fantastic flow of water. There is no bucket, there is no mug, there is nothing. And people were coming out of that hall 9 toilets as though buffaloes will come out of a pond. They were dripping of water, absolutely not bothered. They were all immersed in Advaita philosophy. They just walked. And I told myself, there is no way I am going to stay here. Swami was very kind, and he migrated me to the beginning of hall number 9. And in the beginning of hall number 9, it was slightly drier. And again, I got my 3/6 slot. I've put my yellow suitcase there, and I was just wondering, where on earth am I? I asked the gentleman who was next to me, where are you from, sir? He says, I am a divisional engineer of electricity board in Haryana State Electricity Board. I said, okay, so my father is also of a similar rank. So if I am seated next to him, perhaps I shouldn't mind. But still I was very firm that I will go back that very evening, of course, after having a glimpse of Swami. You will not believe that I continued in that hall 9 for full 10 days. I didn't apply for any leave. Vaguely, I read somewhere that if you are in Puttaparthi, Swami will take your place and will do your house surgeon job in the hospital. I had that faith. I wrote one inland letter to my professor of obstetrics gynecology, and I wrote, Camp Prasanthi Nilayam. Dear madam, I am unable to come. I am in Satyasai Baba's Prasanthi Nilayam. Of course, there is no reply, and I was never reprimanded for that. So I stayed back. I came for one day. I stayed back for full 10 days, witnessed Swami's birthday, and went back to Hyderabad. Even now, some of the accommodation of his people and some Sevadals have the same voice. And I understand some gathered courage to go to Swami and say, Swami, these people in accommodation office and some Sevadals, why don't you speak to them? Swami said, actually, I am also afraid of them. I better not speak to them. And he admitted that he kept a few of the Rakshasas who remained from the Rama's days. They were, now accommodated in accommodation office. I got married in the year 1988. I was only 24 years. And one of my uncles commented that I am the youngest to be awarded Padma Shri, because my wife's name was Padma Shri. I have to publicly admit, and I'm sure she is actually watching this live from Kuwait, where she is an obstetrician and gynecologist now. I have to publicly admit that she stood by me every time, and whenever I took any decision of leaving everything and rushing to Puttaparthi for indefinite periods of time, she never ever questioned. And without, of course, her support and my mother's love, I wouldn't be doing what I have done. You also learn to publicly acknowledge your wives whenever there is a chance in future. Very informally, I have joined Sri Satya Sai Seva organizations without even knowing that I have joined way back in 1988. I started to go to Mehadipatnam Bhajans because I always wanted to sit next to the Bhajan group. That's what I have always done. I am not very great at music, but I enjoy, especially the percussion instruments. So I used to enjoy the quality of Bhajans in Mehadipatnam zone, and I used to go there very regularly. I have to recall here Sri Mudigonda Nageswara Rao, whose house we used to have the Bhajans, and he is such a great person to whom Swami once said, you are like a florist. You have got all great flowers and you have weaved a garland for me. So he would keep everyone together and get everyone under one roof. There, because I was a doctor, we started to have medical camps for the first time. It started off in a very rudimentary manner. People who come for the Narayan Seva, I would just examine and give some medicines. Gradually, it grew. Now there is, many years later, many decades later, still that medical camp continues in Hyderabad. It so happened that again, without my knowledge, I got inducted into Sri Prasanthi Society. Now, Sri Prasanthi Society is a society which was formed under the direct guidance of Bhagawan. He picked up very senior IAS officers and wanted them to start this society. Even now it is running with several IAS officers. And one of the important tasks which was given to Sri Prasanthi Society was to give Sri Sathya Sai gold medals every year. So every year from different colleges in the undivided Andhra Pradesh then, college top rankers were called for some further interviews, and we were awarding Sri Sathya Sai gold medals. So, a few occasions Swami gave them in Prasanthi Nilayam, and after that he directed that the governor may do so in Raj Bhavan. So I also got inducted, and whenever Prasanthi Society goes to Prasanthi Nilayam, invariably Bhagawan will interact. So again, without my knowledge, I became part of Hyderabad youth, and we started one of the Grama Sevas on bikes. That's the first and last time I got onto a bike, but I drove a Kawasaki Bajaj 100 kilometers per hour on Hyderabad to Puttaparthi route. We stopped at a few places, did Nagar Sankirtan, did medical camps, and every evening a telegram will go to Bhagawan letting him know of the progress what we made. And I understand Swami used to very lovingly ask Sri Chakravarti, what is the status of Hyderabad youth and what are they up to? When we went, we were all granted an interview. Swami spoke, and that is the time where Swami, I heard him sing the poem, Grama Sevayanna Rama Sevaye Sumi. So that is actually the way the present medical camps and the so-called village service, Hyderabad youth, I have to place on record, had a lot to contribute to that. When did first time Swami spoke to me? I and one Dr. Mudivanda Veerabhadra Rao, we were traveling in again one of those APSRTC buses from Hyderabad to Puttaparthi, and he, during our long conversation about Swami, he said, when Swami asks you, where are you from, you should not mention, I am from Hyderabad, I am from Guntur, I am from XYZ. And he will be very pleased if you say, I am from you. I said, okay, that just got recorded. You can't believe that next day Swami comes and asks me, where are you from? Because the question paper got leaked to me already, I said, from you, Swami. Then as though he did not hear, he said, ah? Then I said, from you, Swami. Then he just nodded his head and went away. In October 1991, again Prasanthi Society was given an interview. I went in along with Prasanthi Society. As the interview was over, he came very close to me and said, Bidda Kavala. My wife was pregnant, and nobody in Prasanthi Society knew. And those of you who had the experience of having proximity to Bhagawan, he has this unique ability that when he speaks to you, and when he wants others not to hear, he will alter their auditory acuity. They can never hear what he is saying, though they are millimeters away from you. Nobody noticed and understood what Swami was talking about. And I also did not say yes or no. Now in Anantapur and Rayalaseema language, Bidda means girl. I already had a son and my wife was carrying, so I thought Swami this time has decided that it will be a daughter. I didn't really mind, and at that time I kept quiet. October 1991, those of you who know the chronology of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, is just 1 month away from doing open heart surgeries. And I was officially taken as a junior resident in cardiothoracic surgery a few months before I finished my MS in general surgery. So in October 1991, when I joined, the then director of Sri Venkateswara Institute of Medical Sciences, Professor K. Venugopal Naidu, who happens to be one of my mentors in hospital administration, came with me. We walked along the corridors of the hospital, and he told me there is in no way on this earth you will be able to do open heart surgery in these theaters. This was November 17th. November 22nd is the date for surgery. We go to the operation theater, you see sand, you see cement, you see dirt, and in 4 days you have to do open heart surgery in those theaters. I said, sir, when Swami said it is going to happen, he looked at me and said, with a strange expression, can't you see in the operation theater you've got cement bags and sand. How can you do open heart surgery here? So I just smiled, kept quiet, and later he saw this because he had other commitments, he did not stay. He went back and read in the papers that open heart surgery did take place, and he called me and congratulated me and said, your Sai Baba is God. Even today, when you go through the hospitals, you can see your image in the granite many decades after the hospital is constructed. That is the way our Sevadal maintain that hospital, and to me it is still one of the greatest miracles, because Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences is the only place in the world where, without respect to caste, color, creed, nationality and religion, highest quality of surgery is offered free of cost. Those days, as the hospital was starting, Swami was paying attention to the doctors, and we were not exempt. 4 of us joined the hospital and we shared a common small room in West Prasanthi. I had a colleague, Pradeep, who is now Professor Pradeep Kumar, and he is from Kerala. He wanted to become a cardiologist. Swami changed his mind and said, go and do cardiothoracic surgery. So he went to Darshan one day. Swami called him and he asked him, what do you want? He actually knew that the choice he had was to pick up between either a white safari or a suit. This boy thought cleverly and said, Swami, whatever you give. Swami said, okay, I will go inside and get you a sari. Are you going to wear? Then he said, no, Swami. Then he gave him a white safari dress. Again, this he shared with me in the room. A few days later, when I went in, Swami asked me, what do you want? Again, question paper is leaked. I said, I want a suit, Swami. And I didn't know at that time what is going to come in future. So I said, a suit. Swami said, yes, fine. And he went in. Before that, he said, Chala rojulu nunchi vechi unnavu. So he said, you have been waiting for many days. So he took me inside. In fact, he came out and he gave me a shawl. And after that, he gave me a Digjam, D-I-G-J-A-M. That's one of the big brands of suits those days. And he gave me a 3-piece suit length. I got a 3-piece suit stitched out of that. And I have worn that for every major occasion in my life. As in all my FRCS exams in England, I made sure that I wear that suit. As much as the suit was worn by me, thank God I'm still fitting into that. Even for my joint director's interview very recently, I still fitted into that suit, and I, despite Puttaparthi weather, wore a 3-piece suit and went to the interview. On one of the days there in Puttaparthi, the transit time between ground floor to first floor in the lift is literally few seconds. And normally you would have seen, whenever Swami is there, there will be 1 million people who will be around him. And it so happened that in that lift, only I and he were there. The lift doors closed. He looked at me and said, delivery gurinchi yochana chestunnava? I didn't answer. Before I answered, the door opened and we walked out. And again, 100 people were waiting out of the door, and then he just went away. He gave an interview to doctors and nurses together, and as the interview was concluding, he was about 7 feet away from me, and he looked at me in the interview room and said, do you want a son or daughter? Tell me now, I will change it. Sab kuch ye haath mein hai. Then without Thinking a lot, I said, son Swami. He said, Now, I have to tell you a bit of science here. We all start as zygote, which is one cell. If that one cell has XX chromosomes, you will be a female. You will be sitting on that side. If you have XY chromosome, you are on this side, you are a male. Now, if you think at modern genetic engineering, you can change when you are a unicellular organism, I can understand. But Ian Hatton is a scientist in Max Planck Institute of Mathematics in Leipzig in Germany. He wanted to know how many cells will be there in a newborn. So he has analyzed no less than 1,500 scientific papers. And he came out to a figure of anywhere between 17 to 20 trillion cells. So you put 17 and you put 12 zeros after that. So if Swami has to change, he will be changing 17 trillion cells, chromosomes in a fraction of a second. As a graduate in medicine and as someone who has got FRCS and FRCP, if I tell this to an outside gathering, they will lose no time in getting an ambulance and shifting me to Nimhans, which is the closest mental hospital to this place, where I can be logged in forever. This is story A. Connected to this, but in a different timeline, let me tell you a story B, which has again, I call it DNA Swami. So that was a DNA story, this is another DNA story. Jairam Bhai Patel stays in Manchester. He actually was supposed to come with me for this occasion, but then he got held up, and I reconfirmed the story with him 3 days ago to make sure that I'll give you factual details about the chromosomes. It so happened that we are all sitting in veranda, and he gets a frantic call from England, in Manchester, where his daughter-in-law is carrying. She is taken to the NHS obstetrics gynecology doctors. They find that the child she is carrying has Down syndrome. Now, Down syndrome means in every cell, in 21st chromosome position, instead of 2 X chromosomes, there will be 3 X chromosomes. Every single cell in your body. Now, you may say, how does it matter? Out of 46 chromosomes, 1 extra 47 chromosomes. It matters a lot because this child is going to be a mentally retarded child forever. They will have all sorts of heart problems. They are not going to live forever. Their expectancy may be about 40 years. And to be honest with you, it is very difficult to look after these children. Socially, they are very affable. But when you take them out in any family gathering, people will immediately spot that this child has got very low IQ. There is nothing you can do about that. So the NHS doctors have diagnosed that the child in utero is Down syndrome, and they offered termination of pregnancy. Because it is a young couple, you lose this child, nothing is lost, you can plan for another baby, and hopefully that baby will be normal. That is normal medical thinking anywhere in the world. Now, there are problems as well as there are benedictions when you leave everything to Swami. So this particular gentleman, Jairam Bhai Patel, who is actually in transit, is coming to Whitefield now from Puttaparthi. He gave a letter to Swami, and Swami said, Chustanu. NHS had another appointment for this lady and said, you have to decide fast because we have to terminate this pregnancy. We are pretty sure that this is a Down syndrome baby. So he again gives a letter. Swami says, Chustanu. Everybody is restless. NHS doctor said, this is your last and final chance. If you are not going to opt, you cannot blame us. We have given you a prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome. Now, when Swami says Chustanu, it can mean anything. There are people who came to Swami, somebody is critically ill, Swami said, Sustanu. After that, that patient died. Does it mean that Swami has not looked after? Our temporal frame is entirely different from Swami's temporal frame. And when he says Sustanu, he is definitely looking at it, he is definitely taking care, but then that particular leaving the body is the best solution for that soul, which we will never be able to comprehend. So when he says Sustanu, we don't know. And finally, they said, we will continue with the pregnancy, we have understood your warnings, and today that child is normal. So that means Swami has deleted one chromosome from about 20 trillion cells. That is what he meant by Sustanu. And he is capable of that. Another thing which comes to my mind is when we were all closeted with Swami, we used to have one Lieutenant Colonel Harihar Richarya. He had big twirly mustache. I am a bit wary of Sai devotees who have twirly mustaches. So this is one gentleman who was appointed as hospital administrator. So he used to make sure that all of us are herded into hospital, and then he will make sure that we are all sticking to Omkaram and Suprabhatam. That was his main duty. So on a particular day, he also was there in the interview, and Swami asked him, what do you want? Swami said, Lieutenant Colonel Richarya, he said, I don't want anything, Swami, I want your love. Swami again asked him, what do you want? He replied the same. So Swami created a beautiful emerald ring. He has fitted it onto the ring finger of Lieutenant Colonel Richarya, and he said, how is the fit? He says, Swami, it is absolutely correct. He says, Swami, God is always perfect. Then he says, why don't you take it out and show? So he took the ring out. There are about 8 or 10 of us. So the ring was passed on to each of us. So everyone took the ring, they both passed it on to the next person. And Swami was looking at us and said, see the Maya. Creator is here and you're all bowing to the creation. So it went to him, he blew it on thrice, it became a diamond ring, and Lieutenant Colonel Richarya was very happy with that. On one of those days, in 1991, Swami comes to Varanda and he has these North Indian doctors. Because initially the hospital, the departments under the guidance of Professor P. Venugopal, they were all started by the All India Institute team, and obviously you had predominantly North Indian doctors and nurses. He said, Dr. Safaya was the director then, this Delhi culture is very bad. And everyone was stunned. This is in Varanda. He says, Delhi culture is very bad. You have owl culture. Mi andaru gudla goobalu. You all sleep during the daytime and you're all awake in the night time. So everybody was listening. And a girl comes, stops a boy in Delhi. This is what Swami said. A girl comes, stops a boy who is going on the bike and says, can I have a lift, please? And the boy asks, where? And the girl says, wherever you want me to take. Now, that particular culture, what Swami mentioned as Delhi culture, Bangalore is not far behind. You don't have to go to Delhi for the Delhi culture. In fact, all cities have got the same culture now. Well, if you are working for your American client, as most of our IT people do, they all sleep during the day and work in the night. That probably is allowed because they are working for a different time zone. But even if you are working for an Indian time zone, if you are owl culture, this is what Swami had to say. And this was, he was talking in Hindi. Ladki puchta hai kidhar, aur bacha bolta hai kidhar bhi leke jao. Now, with that background, Swami had to send some of the girls to New Delhi for training. Now we all say Swami gives and showers the love of 1,000 mothers. Look at the instance which I am going to narrate. He calls 2 girls he wants to send for medical records department and 10 other nurses. He takes them inside, and I was also there in the interview room watching the drama. He creates lockets and gives to them and says, these will protect you when you go to Delhi. He creates a Sivalingam and says, if you are falling sick during your training time in Delhi, I do not want you to go to any doctor, because their culture is bad, they will take advantage of you. Just do abhishekam of this and you drink. Whatever your malady is, it can be gastroenteritis, it can be respiratory infection, it can be malaria, it can be anything. Just take Sivalingam, abhishekam, tirtham, and no doctors. Then he says, the food there is not good, therefore I prescribe fruits for you. There is a fruit market which is across. This is all Swami telling in Puttaparthi. Go buy fruits, eat fruits, don't go to canteen. Then he gives them saris and says, the dress code for you in Delhi when you go for training is sari. And he says, Delhi is very cold, I'll give you blankets, and he gives them blankets. Now, if Swami is going to distribute such Sivalingams and says that is cure all, whatever disease you have, you take Sivalingam Tirtham, it is done. If he creates a few more, all of us will be out of our jobs. You don't need doctors. Very recently, that is just last week, I had the good fortune of spending good 90 minutes with the present Chancellor, Sri K. Chakravarti, who was a registrar at that time, and he told me, there are 30 rooms in the hostel, each room has about 10 students, so you are talking about 300 students. And he says, as a registrar, I should be up to date with every boy. Therefore, after my dinner, I will go to every single room. He is not the warden, he is the registrar. I'll go to every single room and see who has got what problem. Because Swami will not mention the names. He will say, "A Nellur nunchi vachinade oka abbayi etla unnadu." That means out of these 300 students, he has to know who is from Nellur, who is from Vellur, who is from Hyderabad, who is from Guntur. Sometimes he will say, "Ayana Venkaya Manavadu unnadu kada, etla unnadu." Then he has to remember whose Manavadu who is. And therefore, when you're all sitting, you think that they are having great proximity, but what Swami expects from them is very demanding, including our own warden who is sitting here. So you have to be really up to date with everyone, because you never know what question is going to come from Bhagawan. So when you say Swami is extremely caring, he is extremely loving, at a human level, see how attentive he is to every minute detail and make sure that everything is passed by him when there is a problem. So going back to my story, this was November, so the date of delivery was coming soon. So now he has asked me to recapitulate a few times, are you thinking about delivery? Then he said, I am going to change the gender, which he has done. And I had a dream. In the dream, I have seen Swami getting into a car. I was just next to the rear door, and as he is closing, he said, this time it is going to be a cesarean section. And closed the door. Before I talked to him, the car went away. This was my dream. Now normally, if the first delivery is a normal delivery, second delivery can get into problems. But then in a reasonably well-built female, there is a good chance that it will be a normal delivery again. So I did not reveal this to anyone. And those days, the old-time devotees are very particular. If you are leaving on any ground, you have to inform Swami. They also told me, well, you are going for your wife's delivery, but you better inform Swami. Now these senior devotees think that it is very easy to inform Swami. He may not even look at your side. You may be in 35th row. There may not be a chance. But if you insist that I have to inform Swami, I may or may not get a chance. But then I was not given many choices. There was this Mr. Khayal Das, and he says, yes, you have to inform Swami. So I was sitting in veranda. Swami, it was bright afternoon sun. He went around and came. I was just about to get up on my knees. Swami didn't allow me to speak. He said, waved at me, sit down, and he said, don't worry, be happy. That's it. I have informed Swami, don't worry, be happy, he said. I packed my things and I went to Hyderabad. So, when I reached Hyderabad, my wife was supposed to get admitted for what we call as induction of labor, because she was term. So she was admitted. The next day was the plan for induction. As I was having my food, I get a phone call from my mother-in-law. Padma Sri had a trip fall when she was just coming out of a step in the toilet and has twisted her ankle. I said, fine, today is her delivery, we'll sort it out. So when I came and I have seen, the twisted ankle looked like a fracture to me. So we quickly took x-rays. She has to be induced to have labor in the next couple of hours. So x-ray reveals that she has got a fracture of the leg. So what to do? I consulted the orthopedic surgeon. We have put a plaster cast, induced. She went into labor. And I was expecting it is going to be normal delivery. As this was progressing, Professor Suri Srimati, she is the obstetrician and gynecologist, she rushes out and says, well, there is meconium stent liquor, the baby is in distress, there is cord around the neck, I have to go for an emergency cesarean section. I just remembered, don't worry, be happy. I said, yeah, go ahead, do it. So she goes ahead, does the surgery, opens the door, comes out with my second son and says, he was not crying properly, there was properly less of oxygenation to brain, we don't have ventilator here, you better take him to a place where there is a ventilator. And there, my son is in my hands. And this lady goes back to continue with the operation. I said, fine, don't worry, be happy. I get into one ambulance in Hyderabad traffic. Because I know Nilofar Hospital, I and my wife worked there. At least people will know who we are. We went, we got him overnight ventilated. And I did not even find out, because my mother was here, what is happening. So finally the baby is returned. Next day we come. And they said, well, there is no way this plaster cast is going to hold your wife's fracture. We have to operate. You have a choice. You are a doctor, your wife is a doctor. You can choose your anesthetist, you can choose your orthopedic surgeon. So I chose one Dr. Kalidas. He is my anesthetist. And I said, Dr. Kishore Roy will be my orthopedic surgeon. They said, fine. In the same hospital where she delivered, the anesthetist and surgeon come. There's not much of an exchange of words, because they knew I know the medical background and my wife is also a doctor. They said, we'll just go, put in a malleolar screw, what we call, and it should not take more than 20 minutes. They go inside and they don't come out for next 2.5 hours. And after 2.5 hours, wiping the brow, anesthetist comes and says, you can come inside and see your wife. And when I go, she is violently coughing. And he tells me, your wife nearly died. Because we gave anesthesia the previous day for delivery, and within 24 hours we had to give another anesthesia. Her vocal cords are swollen, and she nearly died. I said, don't worry, be happy. Now, the story doesn't end there. They said, yes, you can go home. So my wife, with a malleolar screw, an orthopedic operation, a few stitches on her ankle, and a plaster cast, child who cries for no reason will be transported to my mother-in-law's place. Those of you who know Praharsha, please don't reveal this to him. He was crying for no apparent reason. So we take there, and I find that things were not getting better. So with the permission of the orthopedic surgeon, we opened a small window in the plaster cast and started dressing this because it was infected. Now if you can feel your medial side of your foot, the bone which you see is medial malleolus. Between that and your skin there is no tissue, it's just skin. So if there is a screw and it is getting infected, you can actually see the screw. So I was starting to put antibiotics, we were giving systemic antibiotics, it was not getting under control. I and my wife decided that we'll put vibhuti into the orthopedic wound, where I can see the screw. My wife said, absolutely no problem, go ahead and do whatever you want. So again, if you look at science, I will be crucified in any scientific session if I say I am putting vibhuti into somebody's wound where I can see orthopedic implant. I did it. I said, to hell with science. Anyway, it is infected. What more worse can happen? So after that, they took serial x-rays after a few weeks, and then they said, well, we are not too sure, it is not healing, we better take the screw out. I said, fine, go ahead, don't worry, be happy, take it out. I was very close to my MS General Surgery final examinations. It was 3 years hard work. And on the other hand, I have got this problem to sort out. I said, fine. So they have taken out the screw. And then they said, we can never guarantee that she is going to walk normally. I said, fine, don't worry, be happy. Whatever is happening, that all is covered under that statement, don't worry, be happy. And she started walking normally. After screw removal, wherever there is infection, there is delayed bone healing. Wherever there is a screw, there is delayed bone healing, but you need to keep that strut for the healing to take place. We took it out, and she started walking normally. There is not much scar, you can barely make it. So this Dr. Kishore Roy openly admits, your Sai Baba is God. Because I have never expected your wife to walk normally after this surgery, and I thought you are going to blame me for the rest of my life. He saved your wife, but more importantly, he saved me. So she is absolutely fine, and she has been walking normally and doing her duties. So when Swami says, don't worry, be happy, you say, thank you very much, Swami, but then be prepared for many scenes of drama to unfold. With Swami's grace, then I went to England. I have finished my FRCS in 1997 from Edinburgh and Glasgow, and I am an MRCS examiner, and so on. Between 2003 and 2009, I had the good fortune of coming back to Whitefield Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences and work there. While I was doing that, in one visit, we didn't physically accompany Swami, but then we timed it such that when Bhagawan is in Kodaikanal, I was also there in Kodaikanal. And one very famous South Indian playback female singer had just a minor ailment where her blood pressure was going through the roof. In Kodaikanal, there was not a big group of doctors. So when they looked around, they found me. They said, why don't you go and see her? And I have done that. And Swami will directly inquire what is happening to the blood pressure values. I was there in the room with this famous singer, myself, and a doctor who is a Christian doctor who met Swami for the first time, because this was like a mission hospital where she was admitted for observation. So Swami looks at this doctor and says, "Memu emaina iste teeskuntara." Now normally people will be dying, and here is Swami asking him, if I give you something, will you accept it? So this doctor had no clue what he is hearing, and he just nodded yes. Swami created a nice emerald ring for him. And this lady singer said, "Swami, so many people are waiting for you outside for darshan." He says, "Em parvaledu, matladu." So when he wants to freeze time and when he wants to spend time, he will stop the time and he will spend eternity with you. Next day morning, he beckoned me and said, Amma eppudu irukanga. My mother tongue is not Tamil. According to Nadi Shastra, I was one Mr. Narasimhan in Tanjore many births ago, but that left no Tamil in me. So I actually thought Swami is asking how is this lady, so I said she is fine, Swami. Enta undani cheppavu blood pressure? I told him. He said atla cheppakodudu. So you have to be very soft, and it is like dharma sankata. You cannot tell the correct value, but you have to tell the value. So he says you have to be soft and make sure that they never get worried about the value which you are revealing. The other incident which comes to my mind when I was working here was where Heartwell Bank decided to sponsor a Nigerian farmer's wife, and Heartwell Bank UK bore all the expenses, and we offered her double valve replacement in our hospital. On another occasion, just behind this wall, Swami asked me, "Inni operations chesaru ee roju?" I told him. Then he said, pollution is the cause of all the heart problems. He says air is polluted, water is polluted, food is polluted. Avunu kada? I said, yes, Swami. Because again, if I say pollution is the cause of atherosclerosis, I will be sent to NIMHANS. But like that classical dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna, whatever Swami says, you say, yes, Swami. There was another international conference. There were two international conferences which were held in Prasanthi Nilayam, where the biggest names you can ever mention in cardiac surgery came to Puttaparthi. And in that, Swami has mentioned which should be borne by all of us in our minds. He said, why is man getting so many diseases today, which was not there before? And he said, yakkada padite akkada, eppudu padite appudu, edi padite adi, tinedi oka manishi matrame. It's only the human being who has no control on the tongue. He will eat whatever he wants, wherever he wants, and whenever he wants. That I am sure we do it every day. And he says that is the cause of all the problems. When Swami, whether it is in Shirdi Avatar or Satyasai Avatar, when we talk about couples who don't have children, there are so many occasions where Swami has given them a fruit. Swami said, don't bother. Technically, again, science will not accept. They are post-menopausal. They don't have any more menstrual cycles. There is no way science will ever think that they can ever become pregnant. There are instances where such people, they bore children. So my wife was looking after one Nepali lady here in this very ashram. Her daughter was infertile for previous 10 years. And somebody said, you go and meet Dr. Padmasri. She gave some medicines. She became pregnant within 1 month. The other side of coin is what is more interesting. I was there as Hyderabad youth, and we were all cooking rice in South Indian canteen. And one gentleman walks to me and says, Anna, 10 ఏళ్ళు అయిపోయింది పెళ్ళయి మాకు పిల్లలు లేరన్నా. I want to come to Hyderabad and consult your wife. I'll get all the reports. I said, please, most welcome. 3 weeks later, he calls me, says, Anna, problem solve అయిపోయిందన్నా, నేను రావడం లేదు. I said, congratulations. He says, we all sat for Pada Namaskar after you left, after our service. Swami came and said, ఈ జన్మకి నీకు బంధము ఇవ్వదలుచుకోలేదు బంగారు. That means there is no point in worrying. I have decided that I am not going to give you any bondage of children. So on one hand, he will grant, and on the other hand, he will withhold for the reasons which are best known to him. Now, as I am coming to the end of my talk, this is general. I have spoken so far, things which are where I was there as a witness and I have seen. In September, on 21 September 1960, Swami gave a discourse, and he said, the reason why you are born is because you have failed in some subjects in your previous birth. In fact, he didn't say failed, he says you did not pass. You are born because you have not passed in some subjects in your previous birth. And the best way to pass, and he admits it is very difficult, is to have sarva samana bhava. If you are able to have that feeling that whatever you see in and around us, in all human beings and creatures, is just the same divinity, that is the way to pass the test. For all of you who are seated here, who have long future ahead of you, let me recall a couple of things. Swami said, respect your mother, respect your motherland, and serve your motherland. Now, I'm sure you have heard this story before, but then I would like to rewind this story, which happened at the fag end of Ramayana. And Ravana, when he was about to pass away, Lakshmana comes to Rama and says, now that we have eliminated almost all the Rakshasas, except for the few who are going to work as Sevadal and in accommodation office, why don't we settle down here? Why should we take all the pain of going back? Because Bharata is going to look after that kingdom. We are here. Look at what Ravana has arranged for us here. You have got buildings which are all made of gold. You have got so many beautiful gardens. No power cut. 24-hour water supply. Why should we go to Ayodhya? Rama says, Janani Janma Bhumischa Swargadapi Gariyasi. And Swami has quoted this many times. Therefore, the reminder for all of us is, yes, you may go abroad, but then you will have to come back to serve our mother and motherland. In that very Trayee hall, I was just recalling when I went a few hours ago, Swami said, Swami yokka asirvadamu akasamu kanna goppadi. నమ్మక చెడినవారు ఉన్నారు కానీ నమ్మి చెడినవారు లేరు లేరు లేరు. If you have faith in Swami, he will take care of everything. Now I have to tell you about a little parable from Bible, and this unfortunately is called Doubting Thomas's parable. But then it so happened, I'm sure you know this story, but let me quickly go through that. Jesus is crucified, and he told his disciples that he'll come back, and a couple of days later he resurrects. Saint Thomas was not there in the group, and to all the other disciples, they tell Saint Thomas, our dearest Lord Jesus Christ has resurrected. And Thomas says, I don't believe. Unless I feel his wounds with my hands, unless I put my fingers into his chest wound, which I have seen 2 days ago, I will not believe. And then there is another session where, as Bible says, the door is locked. The Lord resurrects again for Thomas and says, Thomas, feel. And he does go and feel with his hand the hands of Jesus Christ where he was crucified. It doesn't stop there. He puts his hand into his chest and he says, my Lord, my God. Now I believe. Then Jesus tells him, blessed are you, Thomas, you have seen and you have believed. But more blessed are those who have not seen me and will believe. And therefore, those of you who did not have a chance to see Swami and who have belief and faith in him, you are more blessed than those who had a chance to see and believe. So that faith will not happen without his grace, and I am sure you all are going through that stage. And you must congratulate yourselves and congratulate your parents, because you will recall in a few years that these are the best times you have ever spent in your life. E is equal to mc square. All our physics students know. Very easy. If you want to solve m, it becomes E by c square. So you have energy in the denominator, velocity of light square. is in the denominator. Numerator is energy. That will give you mass. So I took a piece of paper and started calculating, if Swami wants to create a ring, what will be the E by C square value? And again I did some research and I seen what will be the energy of an atom bomb. So it finally will figure out that he is creating the mass from energy of several atomic bomb explosions when he is creating something. That is physics, if you want to talk in physics terms. When we close our eyes and ask ourselves, why are we here and who is Sai Baba, we can be here forever talking about that. Many people of greater wisdom than mine, greater intellect than mine, greater devotion than mine have tried, but they could not come anywhere close to the answer. All of you are very aware of Taittiriya Upanishad, Anandavalli, Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha, where words will return back without being able to describe that eternal bliss, where even mind comes back without having the ability to describe, that is Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. I will tell you a miracle which has happened today. We were all there yesterday, and normally there is a bhajan. So this bhajan went on in Swami's room in Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Whitefield. This was yesterday. And today morning at 5:15 a.m., Praveen, who is the special assistant to director, allowed me to come for the Lingabhishekam. This is today morning 5:15 a.m., about 12 and a half hours ago. When I was going in, he said, "Sir, I am going to see you something wonderful." He opened the rear side pantry door. He has taken me inside and he has shown me Vibhuti footprints of Bhagawan in the hall in the hospital today. And these are all like infant-size footprints. And he just mentioned to me, has it to do with the Ram Lalla which they are going to sanctify tomorrow? We don't know. But this is something, as I say, there is no point in discussing and analyzing. When I say greater people have tried, and I'll just conclude this by trying to tell you about Professor Suri Bhagavantam. Professor Suri Bhagavantam was a Vice Chancellor of Osmania University. He was the Director of Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. He was the Director of Defense Research Development Organizations. He is a physicist who worked with Sir C.V. Raman, a Nobel laureate. He has written books about Raman effect and spectroscopy. And he says, Sai Baba transcends the laws of physics and chemistry. And when he transcends a law, that fact becomes a law. He is a law unto himself. I can give you any number of examples, but I thought I choose Professor Suri Bhagavantam because he is extremely well acclaimed as physicist. Swami is a phenomenon. He is transcendental. He is divine. He is an incarnation. He is our nearest kith and kin. Turn to him for eternal message that also and that alone can save us. These are the words of Suri Bhagavantam. And in Howard Murphet, I hope all of you have read that. Otherwise, as an alphabets book, I want all of you to read Howard Murphet's Man of Miracles. And in that, he says what all of us know. What we know of Swami and what we have chronicled is infinitesimal of the infinity. Because any number of books, any number of lectures, any number of talks will never ever be able to describe even an iota of what Bhagavan is. I thank the organizers of Samarpan for giving me this chance, and it meant that I could ruminate on many things in my own life and read a bit more, and I hope you all enjoyed. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Kumar, for sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure each one of you seated here will agree that it was an insightful session for all of us. And we are sure that by Swami's grace, the hospital will reach new heights under your leadership. I have a few announcements to make. The 153rd Samarpan will be held on February 18th, 2024. And we have Sri M.R.K. Prasad, alumnus, Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, who will be sharing his thoughts with us. I now request Dr. Ravi Kumar, Warden, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, to felicitate our Anil sir.
जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक बंदी महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवर्धना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद बांधवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे माता पिता गुरुदेवमु पर्यन्तयुरीवे स्वामी पर्यन्तयुरीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ प्राणेन्द्राशयन ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंगुको मंगल आरती अंगुको मंगल गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण सत्य नारायण 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 सत्य नारायण नारायण सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण सत्य नारायण 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 ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्य परिपालयन्ता न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका